Hi, welcome to our next junior relations video. We're going to turn our attention to horizontal and vertical lines in this video. They're a little bit tricky and slightly different to what we've been doing. We know so far that every straight line graph can be written in this form: y is equal to mx plus c. Our m represents the gradient, which is how steep the line is. We have negative, 0, positive, and undefined gradients. And our C represents our y-intercept, which is where the graph crosses over the y-axis. So let's now look at this example. We're going to use the rule y is equal to 4 to draw a straight line graph. Now this graph doesn't look like what we're used to. We're used to y equal to mx plus c. So I'm going to have to rewrite this equation as y is equal to 0x plus 4. The mx is, the m is 0, so that's why we haven't got an mx in there. So here's our Cartesian plane. We do have a c value, which is the y-intercept. We know that's there, that's 4. So we can draw the graph passing through the y-intercept, passing through the y-axis at 4 plus 4. But now let's talk about 0, a gradient of 0 in m of 0. Well, we've talked about this before. We know gradients rise over run. When we have a gradient of 0, we've spoken about it being a horizontal line. So this basically is a graph that has a 0 gradient, which means it has a horizontal line. It's a horizontal line through 4. And that's that. That's the graph of y equal to 4. Okay, let's try another one. Use the rule y is equal to negative 3 to draw a straight line graph. Okay, so once again, we're going to write it as y is equal to 0x minus 3, because gradient is 0 because it's not there. Here's our Cartesian plane. We know what the y-intercept c is negative 3, so we can draw a point through at negative 3. We know it's got a gradient of 0, so we just talked about that. Gradient of 0 is a horizontal line, so we can draw a line, horizontal line through negative 3. And that's the graph of y equal to negative 3. Once we start getting a little bit more confident, we can say, well, what about the graph of y equal to 1? That must just be a horizontal line through when y is equal to 1. Okay, let's now go to this example. Example 4 is to use the rule x equal to 4 to draw a straight line graph. Doesn't look like this at all. It doesn't even start with y equal. So we've got a bit of a problem. Here's our Cartesian plane. Before we draw the graph for example 4, let's go back to a previous graph. When y is equal to 4, we had a horizontal line through y at the point 4. So now let's think about that. If y is equal to 4 is this line here, when x is equal to 4, the graph looks like this. It goes a vertical line through the point x is equal to 4. So when we see graphs that are x equal to something, we're now talking about vertical lines. So what about x is equal to negative 2? Well, that's just going to be a vertical line through x is equal to negative 2. What about this tricky one? X is equal to 0. Well, that is a vertical line through when x is equal to 0, which happens to be the y-axis. Okay, so let's try and sum up what we've just chatted about. When we see a rule y equal to some number, and it's a graph, we know it's a straight line graph, it's going to be a horizontal line, and it's going to be through that particular y value. So y is equal to 1 will be a horizontal line through y is 1. When we see a rule that says x equal to something, then it's a vertical line, and it's a vertical line through that x point. X is equal to 3 is a vertical line through the point x of 3. Right, some tricky stuff there. Thanks for watching.